because there's so many different designs to solve problems.
Yeah.
But like, none of them are perfect.
Scientists increasingly emphasize that life in the depths of the ocean is not isolated from the rest of the planet.
I want to let's take a step back and say that mass extinctions have been a part of life on Earth since there's been life on Earth.
But deeply connected to the systems that sustain human life at the surface.
And when you think about its size and its volume, you realize that 80% of our planet's living space is deep ocean.
Deep sea ecosystems regulate carbon, recycle nutrients, and stabilize the chemistry of the oceans in ways that quietly support the climate above.
Are there any animals, this is weird, that have both gills and lungs? I would love that, right? So I could dive into the ocean.
Yeah.
Because I just discovered that the southern elephant seal can stay submerged for 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Yeah, without gills. Yeah.
Right, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so are there animals that have both? There are some definite funky animals out there. And this is one of the things I love about animal physiology and biochemistry, which I started off with in graduate school, is that animals have evolved all these cool tools to do different things. Like, let me give you an example. There are some frogs that have patches of their skin that's transparent, and they can suck up oxygen just through that little skin.
Through the water or the air?
Through the water, right? Or the air, actually.
Or the air.
The punchline with getting oxygen, right? For all animals need oxygen. The punchline is you need to be able to get as much oxygen as you need, but that surface also gives up water. So our evolutionary kind of compromise are lungs.
From methane-eating microbes to vast abyssal food webs, researchers see these hidden communities as essential partners in maintaining Earth's balance.
So we can breathe in oxygen and exhale it, but it really doesn't work as well as some other kinds of gas exchange things. So animals are cool because there's so many different designs to solve problems.
Yeah.
But like, none of them are perfect. They're all a compromise, right?
Yeah,
and that's okay. That's cool. It works.
Right.
But there are some creatures out there that have a little bit of both, and they live in crazy, weird places, like African lungfish, right? Which do really well. So, yeah.
When you talk about this being a microbial world, two things come to mind. One of them is mass extinctions.
Yeah.
And right now we're suffering this loss of biodiversity on Earth, right, due to, people think human activity. But microbes aren't suffering that. And then, there's the big extinction that occurred, and that was the only mass extinction allegedly that insects suffered, I've heard somewhere.
Right.
Is there a known record of microbial extinction events? Global
great question.
scale?
That is a great question.
What happens miles below the surface does not stay there. It ripples upward, influencing fisheries, atmospheric carbon levels, and the long-term health of the planet.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
But I want to let's take a step back and say that mass extinctions have been a part of life on Earth since there's been life on Earth, and there's been many. And if you think about it, if we make an estimate, probably about 98 or 99% of all of the biodiversity that's ever existed on this planet is gone.
Oh, wow.
So the diversity we have today is precious and important.
Yeah.
But I do think we have to sometimes remind ourselves that things evolved and go extinct throughout Earth's past before humans ever tinkered with anything. Right? Now, microbes are wild because it's really hard to know what a microbial species is.
So when you see different bacteria, I mean, they're shaped differently.
They're shaped differently. So yeah, we got some different shapes. But let me put it this way. Despite your best efforts, if you fall in love with a cat, you're not going to have a cat-human baby.
At the same time, scientists are careful to stress a crucial paradox. Even life that thrives in total darkness ultimately depends on a sunlit world.
Right? That's like not going to happen. It's not in the cards. But microbes are kind of, how do I put this? They're sort of floozies with their genomes. What I mean is they can swap genes all the time.
With other
all the time.
species?
Oh, absolutely all the time. Yeah. So if we rely on a genome to say, okay, this is Hakeem and Hakeem's a human because this is what his genome is, we lose that in microbes. Like you can't do that very easily. So have microbes suffered mass extinctions? I'm willing to bet there are certain microbes that were alive on Earth in the past that aren't alive today.
Yeah.
Because the conditions on Earth don't favor them. But I don't know if I could call that a mass extinction in the way that, if we have a meteorite or an asteroid impacted and we have this die-off of animals. I don't know that they're the same.
Right.
It's a great question.
It's a different, that's a very different realm of existence.
Yeah,
the
it is.
microbial realm if you're doing that.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the ocean.
While hydrothermal vent organisms draw energy from chemical reactions rather than sunlight, the broader ocean system they inhabit is shaped by solar energy.
Sure.
So
My favorite place.
I heard you said something about the ocean ecosystem and how it differs from our land ecosystems that we have contact with every day and think about. Go into that for me.
Yeah, sure. So so let me start with a bit about the ocean, right? It covers the majority of our planet's surface, and it is a huge part of what makes our planet habitable and comfortable for us. And I want to make it clear that you don't need an ocean for a planet to be habitable per se. You need water, but I want to make it clear that that the world as we know it today is really useful for us and for other animals, right? The ocean tempers heat, like it absorbs heat and releases heat. It keeps our planet from having the wild temperature swings that you know better than I do happen on on the moon or on Mars. There's like crazy temperature swings.
Surface photosynthesis drives oxygen production, fuels marine food chains, and sets the baseline conditions that make deep ocean life possible.
All right, but the other thing is the ocean is so foreign to us that sometimes it's easy to lose sight of just kind of how different a place it is. So check this out. So sunlight goes through the ocean, right? And it disappears at about 1,000 meters. Okay. And we call that upper 1,000 meters the epipelagic and mesopelagic. These are fancy names we come up with. But below that, we call that the deep sea proper, or bathypelagic.
Okay.
Now, the deep sea proper is the ocean beyond the reach of sunlight. And when you think about its size and its volume, you realize that 80% of our planet's living space is deep ocean.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Super cool,
Yeah,
right?
super cool. 80%.
So 80%. Now, so that means everything else that we think of off the top of our heads, the Serengeti, right? The Amazon rainforest, even the shallow water coral reefs, Washington, D.C., Boston, Paris, you name it, all that's in the other 20%.
Researchers describe the deep sea as a downstream beneficiary of the sun, sustained not by direct light, but by planetary processes that begin at the surface and cascade downward.
And I've said this little fact.
Because you have that top layer of the ocean. I would imagine that a big percentage of the 20% is that sunlit part of the ocean.
Yeah, that's right.
And the land,
That's right.
because the vertical extension of land is to the top of the tree canopy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The ground
that's right.
to-
That's it. And so
And then
even that other
underground
20%, a bunch of it is ocean, right?
Right.
So if you're talking about aliens, right? So I love saying that if aliens came to Earth and they had to go back and tell their leader what the typical condition on Earth was like, they would tell her it's cold, wet, dark, and salty.
Cold, wet, dark, and what else fits that description?
Yeah, right.
Cold, wet, dark.
I'll let you run with that one.
I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything.
So because it's cold, ice cold seawater.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, that is really interesting, right? Because it means that this part of the ocean, and we're just barely like getting eyes down there, right? Like we're just barely starting to study it and understand it.
For scientists, this interconnectedness reshapes how life on Earth is understood. The deep ocean demonstrates life's extraordinary adaptability.
That's our planet's sort of largest living space. Now, in fairness, just so I don't want to paint an inaccurate picture, most of the biomass, like most of the stuff that's alive on Earth, lives in that 20%, because the sun is our planet's power source.
You know what? This is my insight that I have been telling my colleagues for the last decade or so, and my students. I was like, what makes Earth special is not the fact that it has an ocean. It's the fact that our ocean is bathed in sunlight.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I love. Thank you for doing that work, Hakeem, and telling people, because in my even in my ocean world, many scientists are like, oh well, water is unique to Earth, and we know it's not. Right? There's like quasars that have a million times more water than Earth does, but it's that bathed in sunlight, and that lets these photosynthetic organisms like algae and microbes and plants, they do the work of harnessing energy from the sun and turning it into biomass, and everything else lives off that. So what's cool is our planet, our biosphere, our lives, we're fueled by a star.
Then you're kind of in like, well, he's Hitler. We should assassinate Hitler, shouldn't we? Like, I mean, why did that guy try to kill Trump and almost succeeded? Why did he do that?
Well, I'd like to know that.
Well, yeah, but
that one's crazy. You know the whole deal with that guy's house, professionally scrubbed, no footprint on the internet, no social media footprint.
Yeah, there's 0% chance that he has no social media footprint.
He was in a BlackRock commercial. Yeah, so it hasn't been released yet.
There's no way.
Yeah, you would find out. And here's the real question: like, what could even be in there at this point that they haven't cleared out? If you've got paperwork from 1963, like, what is in there still? What is in there that could possibly be incriminating that supposedly Trump said that if you saw what they showed me, you wouldn't release it either?
He doesn't deny Trump's influence or popularity, but he raises an eyebrow at the broader consequences of isolationist strategies.
The way it is right now with Trump back in after all that happened to him, and with you there, and with RFK Jr. and Tulsi and Kash Patel, it's like, this is a wild time to find out what's really going on. That's like never happened before. This is nothing like the first term.
He wanted to, I think he was trying to get at Trump and maybe me and a few others. He stole like 500,000 tax returns. Yeah, like not a few, like it's a lot of tax returns.
No,
you can just read about it online. It's a real thing.
Yeah, so it hasn't been released yet.
There's no way.
Yeah, you would find out. And here's the real question: like, what could even be in there at this point that they haven't cleared out? If you've got paperwork from 1963, like, what is in there still? What is in there that could possibly be incriminating that supposedly Trump said that if you saw what they showed me, you wouldn't release it either?
In Musk's view, heavy tariffs and strict border controls aren't just bad economics.
To luxury hotels in New York, your tax money went to pay for illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York from an agency that is meant to help Americans in distress from natural disasters.
Right, and I would like to
That's
know how
fucked up.
much. And I would like to know how much they spent on North Carolina and how much they spent on Maui.
Yes, exactly. What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters, and it's really just a matter of time. So, like, if a lot of people have trouble believing this, but the more you look at it, the more you will realize just how much of a problem this is, and how it's not just real. It is an attempt to destroy democracy in America. That's what, in my view, it is what it really is. Like, if you take the sort of 7 swing states, like, often the margin of victory there is like maybe 20,000 votes. If you put 200,000 illegals in there.
Musk went on to suggest that U.S. policy has created a feedback loop.
And they have like a 80% likelihood of voting Dem. And it's only a matter of time before they become citizens. Then those swing states will not be swing states in the future. And if they are not swing states, we'll be a permanent one-party state country. Permanent deep blue socialist state. That's what America will become.
And that was the game plan.
That was the game plan. That is still the game plan.
And so
they almost succeeded. If the machine of which the Kamala puppet was the representation had won, that's what would have happened. The reason I went so hardcore for Trump was because, to me, this was a fork in the road, a very obvious fork in the road.
Universities raise tuition, Government regulations grow heavier, malpractice lawsuits increase. Musk has acknowledged that the core idea behind Make America Great Again resonates with many Americans who feel left behind by globalization, automation, and what he calls the ideological capture of elite institutions.
If they had another 4 years, they would legalize enough illegals in the swing states to make the swing states not swing states. They would be blue states. Then they would win the presidential. They'd win the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They would then make district, D.C. into a state. Maybe Puerto Rico, get 4 extra senators, pack the Supreme Court. So then you'll have the House, Judiciary, Senate, and presidency, all blue. And then they will keep importing more illegals to cement that outcome. Basically what happened in California.
Jesus Christ.
It would have been the end. That's why I went so hardcore for Trump. It was otherwise been the end. And that's why the Democrat machine is so intent on destroying me.
Meanwhile, large hospital networks quietly lobby for looser immigration rules to meet staffing needs with cheaper labor. According to Musk, the U.S. healthcare system has become dangerously reliant on immigrant labor, not out of strategic diversity, but because the system has made it financially and mentally impossible for many young Americans to enter the profession.
It's just so fascinating that people can't see this.
I mean, I invite people to do their research. The more they do their research, the more they will see that what I'm saying is absolutely true. It's like, just do the research.
Yeah. It's such a bad idea, even for the Democrats, which is what they don't understand. Like, it's the same
it's not
people.
ultimately going to work out.
No, it's the same people.
Yes.
It's just they're doing it under the guise that they're the kind, compassionate, progressive people.
Yes.
But the same outcome takes place. It's just about control. They probably institute some central bank digital currency and some social credit score system. And then
censorship,
you're fucked.
of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, that was the big fear coming into this election, was that if they can't censor things like... we talked about it before, but there was 2 major forks in the road. The big one was Trump didn't get shot.
Yep.
The other big one was you buy Twitter.
Yeah.
And if those 2 things don't happen, the whole world looks different.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want to be on that timeline.
No, we don't want to have only one side represented, because guess what? They will hijack that side, whatever it is. They will hijack that side and use it for money and control. And that's what it's all about.
Sure.
The comments raised profound questions about humanity's place in the cosmos and whether our beliefs about existence have been dangerously naive.
What disturbs me isn't the idea that aliens seeded life. It's the possibility that consciousness itself isn't native to this universe, that it's an import, a visitor, using biology the way a diver uses a submarine, temporary, functional, ultimately disposable. Imagine if the human mind is a receiver, not a generator, and our brains are tuned to frequencies we don't understand. Creatures evolve senses based on survival, sight, hearing, smell, but survival doesn't require truth. It requires advantage. A frog doesn't need to understand the laws of optics to catch a fly. It just needs movement detection. So why assume our perceptions reflect reality? They reflect utility. And here's where it gets cosmic. What if the universe is designed to hide itself from what lives inside it, like a system partitioning memory, like a computer hiding its root directory from the applications?
Musk began by pointing to contradictions in the Fermi paradox. Not minor gaps, but contradictions that change the premise entirely.
Every civilization assumes it is the main character of the universe. It's unavoidable. Consciousness is wired around narrative, and narrative demands a protagonist. But I started considering something uncomfortable, something most people never stop to imagine. What if humanity isn't the protagonist? What if we're the gateway character, the tutorial level, the opening chapter in a much larger book we'll never read? Because the most disturbing possibility isn't that aliens want Earth. It's that they want access to dimensions we don't perceive, access to physics we haven't unlocked, access to computational substrates hidden inside organic systems. Humans love to think consciousness emerged from biology. But what if biology was the scaffolding for consciousness? A chrysalis, a temporary exoskeleton, something intelligence used to hitchhike across reality until it could stand outside its container. People always assume first contact means diplomacy, ships meeting ships. But in computational terms, first contact may already be happening inside us, in the architecture of thought, in the way ideas appear from nowhere, fully formed, like downloads without a source.
Everything adds up to an answer no one wants to face, he said.
Ideas are the real UFOs. We've experienced them for millennia. Bursts of knowledge that arrive without precedent. Agriculture, mathematics, music, fire, tools, then electricity, then rockets, then quantum theory, then artificial intelligence. Every leap compresses time. Every breakthrough reduces the interval between breakthroughs. You know what keeps bothering me, even more than the sightings, the tech, the physics? It's the behavior. Because behavior reveals motive, and motive reveals mindset. Humans project our own nature onto everything. If we're curious, we assume others are curious. If we're territorial, we assume others are territorial. But what if we're not dealing with curiosity? What if we're dealing with calculation? There's a difference between being watched and being studied. When a human scientist studies dolphins, the dolphins don't know what the experiment is. They don't even know an experiment is happening. They just live, swim, hunt, breed, play, completely unaware that every movement is being measured and interpreted. What if that's us? What if Earth is the aquarium and the glass is one way?
Musk suggested that the universe's silence may not be random. It may be intentional.
You know what the most unsettling realization was? There's consistency across the most credible accounts. Not little green men, not monsters, not machines. Silence, distance, precision, restraint. The traits of something that does not see us as competitors. If aliens landed guns blazing, that would almost be comforting, because conflict implies equality. Predators don't wage war on ants. They just step over them. And if something is stepping over us, it means they're already done with the part where we mattered. Physics is shockingly good at telling us what we can't see. Dark matter, dark energy, the invisible scaffolding that holds everything together. The largest portion of the universe is untouchable, unobservable, unmeasurable, except through absence. People assume aliens would travel through space the way we do, with engines and rockets and metallurgy. But maybe the advanced civilizations don't travel through space. Maybe they travel through meaning, through consciousness, through whatever dark energy actually is, not fuel, but field.
He referenced new, unexplained data from deep space scans.
Look at the phenomena. They appear where human observation intensifies. Around military tech, around data hubs, around particle accelerators, around the edge cases of our knowledge. It's almost like they orbit progress itself. And then there's the psychological angle, the part researchers dread discussing. Because the sightings aren't random. They cluster around perception thresholds. Just visible enough to be noticed, never enough to be proven. That's not diplomacy. That's pacing, like an intelligence adjusting stimulus to keep the subject responding. Reward, withdraw, reward, withdraw. The same pattern used in behavioral conditioning of animals. The same template used in slot machines, social media, casinos, smartphones, intermittent reinforcement. The universe might be training us, not to obey, but to adapt, not to worship, but to comprehend, not to fight, but to serve a purpose we don't yet understand.
Regions of quiet where there should be noise, boundaries where chaos should reign.
I'll tell you the moment I felt genuine fear, not curiosity, not awe, but fear. I was thinking about how humans would respond if undeniable proof emerged, not speculation, proof. Governments wouldn't celebrate, they'd lose control. Religion wouldn't collapse, it would fracture. Economics would implode because every value system humanity invented is built around human significance. Take that away, and every hierarchy designed for thousands of years collapses overnight. Aliens don't have to invade to destroy us. They just have to show up, because once Earth realizes it's not the center of the story ends.
They may be removed. When life reaches a certain point, he said, the universe reacts.
And here's the part I haven't said publicly, because I'm not sure people understand the psychological implications. What if the reason they don't reveal themselves is the same reason we don't explain ourselves to insects? Not cruelty, incomprehensibility. You can't explain democracy to a beetle. You can't teach astrophysics to a goldfish, not because they're unworthy, but because their brains weren't built for that type of reality. Humans assume we're the default form of intelligence. But what if intelligence is not a ladder? What if it's a horizon and we're 1 millimeter into it? What if consciousness comes in gradients we cannot perceive?
The silence may not be absence, Musk warned. It may be consequence.
There might be forms of awareness that don't think in language or time or identity. We assume aliens have goals. Maybe goal is a human concept. Maybe intention is a biological illusion. I've started to wonder if the biggest shock isn't that aliens exist, but that we were never the audience. Maybe life in the universe doesn't care about us any more than the sun cares about a thermostat. And yet, something keeps interacting. Not dramatically, not violently, not chaotically, but with pattern. And pattern means direction.
According to Musk, individuals close to top-level research have shared alarming findings.
At SpaceX, every once in a while we'd catch unexplainable anomalies on missions. Not visuals, not sightings, interference, short bursts, as if someone tested how we react to interruptions, like they were mapping our thresholds. It always felt less like aggression and more like calibration. I started noticing a pattern. These anomalies increased every time humanity crossed a technological milestone. Not random. Triggered. The first time, we navigated reusable boosters. Another when China achieved quantum communication. Another spike when private companies began global satellite networks.
He hinted that advanced civilizations may not simply disappear.
It's almost as if we're pushing closer to a frequency where we become visible, not physically, cognitively. Like something out there is asking, how fast are they learning? How close are they to understanding what they are? And that's the psychological trap, because humans don't handle existential ambiguity well. The mind needs a villain or a savior, something to blame or something to worship. But what do you do when the presence watching you doesn't want worship and doesn't need conflict? People think contact would bring unity. I don't. Humans unify against a threat. But what if the threat is indifference? Nothing destabilizes a civilization faster than realizing its story isn't special.